Amazing.
So
Happy birthday. It's been your birthday all day, so you've been in my heart. And yeah, just really feeling so honored to be doing this with you on your special day. And I was just looking back and really um, just like reflecting on our journey and how, we're somehow always have on our paths woven together at certain points and very pivotal points in our lives. So it just feels, yeah, just really a really special friendship. So
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for saying that so much. And
celebrating.
um, just to kind of like get us started, I was thinking last night, like, well, how do I want to segue into this conversation or even introduce this conversation? And um, so I think where it took me is the phone call we had. Well, first of all, let me say I haven't seen you in actual form other than the phone calls this entire time since
I think
for
since before
probably
we
over a
left,
year.
yeah, yeah,
And even before you guys left, I think the last time I saw you in person after Rama's birthday, so he was a month old.
yeah, yeah.
And he's how old now?
He's 3. He turned 3, and
Okay, wow. So it's been that long.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And today when you sat, I I don't I mean, like, it seems like not that long has passed, or
Yeah.
maybe this is just my, but you sat, and when I saw you um like on the camera, I was like, who is this woman? There's something different about you. Um, the different dimension that opened up. I don't know how to else to explain it. And mm, I also wonder if that's like more of a Magdalene coming out and
Think it is.
making
That's a little
home.
bit. Yeah, it's a little
Make,
bit of my journey right now, and yeah, even this recording, right?
Mhm.
It's like a really big edge for me in terms of visibility. I think that, and I was really reflecting on that today. I think that if I would have done this even a year ago, I would have had a complete meltdown. But I think right now, I feel so embodied, and like I have built a pretty good structure and capacity to hold the the power that's wanting to come in, and that energy that I'm really playing with or dancing with. So yeah, and it feels really transformational. Even like, yeah, I think that I feel different. I don't feel
Yes, yes,
like
yes.
the same woman that I was even a year ago. And yeah, and I think the shift was coming to India and leaving, like really leaving the US. And our family home actually just sold. Our house just sold. It sold. Like it, my
The
mom,
LA house.
yeah, they just moved out like 3 days ago. So it's like was this really big, yeah, like completion of a cycle that felt really ancestral, but also like not just for me, but for my whole family. Like even my mom and my sisters were all in a very interesting place where it feels like we're entering a new era in
Mhm.
our lives. Yeah. And I think that's just the case for every, like, not just us. I think it's more of like a collective thing. This is just my
Yeah,
own little thing, but it really feels like a collective.
I didn't realize that it was actually in the progress of being sold or even considered. I remember you mentioned something like a long time ago, and then so what's now? Where are they going to be?
She's just opening up to, you know, more possibilities and exploring new environments and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. What did you dropped a big bombshell speaking of this that we got So funny that we got a postcard to our Florida address that our house in LA was sold. Um,
She sold it.
she was going to, but um, it just felt kind of like, I remember like when I first got the news that it's actually been sold. Well, first that it's been on the market as like, but it's my house, like there's so much life there that's happened. Um, it really was quite not what I expected it to be. But then it also opened that like portal to something that I couldn't let go of, when I was holding on to that part through, like, the house was a representation, but there was just like a profound sense of loss. And, but it was also like a doorway into something else. And then essentially when the house sold, for some reason, the selling agent, for some reason, sent us, and I don't even know how they found out where to send it, that the house has been sold. And so recently I said, like, we need to frame that thing, the little postcard from the real estate agent, because it felt almost kind of like a wink from the universe, uh you know um I wanted to uh reflect a little bit on the journey that brought us here. um and that was a phone call I think we had around maybe late February this year. And I think about an hour into the call, after all the catching up was done, we kind of got on the Magdalene train. And I felt in that moment as if there was unhinging of some kind happened inside me. And then for quite some time now, I have been feeling um, the call to hold space for women. And I wasn't really understanding the framework, or didn't understand. It wasn't in a conceptual thing. It was just something that I felt like part of my journey is to do that. And I feel that that phone call sort of almost was like such an alignment and a click that after we hung up the phone, I think I was high for about like a week afterwards. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. But it was just this wave of purpose and like sense of fulfillment and sense of connection, and mm, like something shared, And I also understood something in that moment, is that this journey is not a solo journey. And it's calling for alliance. It's calling for like a partnership or a collaboration. And it was really profound because so much of my adversity in my life happened exactly through women. And so I always stayed a little bit of kind of an arm's length, very protective. And the some of the experiences that I did have, women that I was drawn to, were like, ooh, wasn't didn't go so well. And so when all that, transpired through the call, I remember that the very first person who introduced me to the idea of the womanhood and the womb space was you. And it sort of started me on this. It's like planted a seed. And I feel like years later, that call, and I felt like that seed like popped, you know? And um, so I rarely felt like, there were a few times in my life where I felt that much momentum and empowerment and safety. Where it's like, I'm scared. like you were saying about it's pushing all my edges, and I really felt it like this coming week because it was a very conscious commitment for me to do it on my birthday. It was like, okay, I feel like there's the voice that wants to be heard, and I can hide behind, oh, all the ideas about like how unready or unprepared or who am I to do this, or can just do it. And so, like, this coming week has really, I think, activated every single trigger I had. And then there was a moment where it was like, what am I thinking? Like, we need to call this thing off. I'm like, I'm not. And then there's a part of me that was like, just take a breath. And I wasn't even like understanding why I'm feeling that way. You know, I was like, it's not like I'm asked to go on the stage with a bunch of people like listening to me, but was something so confronting. Um, and it really brought up everything that I thought there's like, oh yeah, but I've dealt with that. And then there was another layer and another layer. And so I felt also such profound gratitude because of the way I felt um, seen and heard and safe in our conversations. And I think certain themes that I was able to talk with you about are really handful of people that in my experience, that I have had that I could go certain directions and not feel like, ooh, did I share too much? Ooh, is it going to be used against me or held against me or judged against me, you know? And there's this kind of open space that almost gives me a choice like, well, I can go back to the old, guarded, or I could go to the new without dragging the fear of what could happen, what could go wrong, or, you know. So thank you for indulging me on doing this call on this day. It really means a lot to me, and I would love for you to share um, what brought you here and whatever feels right to share at this moment. And like, in the space of women, and you've been on this journey for a lot longer than me in this way. And first, when you mentioned this, I was like, she's very grounded and very there. And things she's talking about feel a little off the wall, even within the medicine space that I was in. I was like, okay. And if it was anybody else, I probably would have been like, yeah, you know what I mean? But you had a view, and you kind of you reached me with something that was even at the point where I was like years into the medicine work, plant medicine, and even then it was a little far fetched until I started getting closer and like interacting with this and discovering and remembering. And so, yeah, would love to hear your journey and what's calling you to this space, and whatever else you want to share, whatever else you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I've had, yeah, like I can really relate to that experience. That when you mentioned leading up to the call and everything coming up and wanting to, yeah, just like call it off. And I really like this phrase of that my teacher, Sarah, had taught during it was a transmission that she gave last year that really like I think, restructured my whole being and really set this like the groundwork for me to come out of my, underworld journey and gestational period. And she refers to it as towering up. So, when you tower up is like you're meeting the new architecture that's emerging. And of course, when you're meeting that power, it's a big light. It's a lot of light. That's what the energy is, right? Is light. And it begins to reveal everything because it's illuminating all of you, including the shadows and the insecurities and all of the things that make us feel uncomfortable. But we can't really, like, of course, the instinct is to, okay, I'm going to close this door. I'm going to go back to how I'm living in my comfortable little, world. But we don't really learn until we collaborate with it and, learning through creation. And I think that's been my biggest lesson right now as I'm preparing for like my first event that, we're going to be collaborating and really putting it out there without any real plan, just like I'm gonna do it. However, I feel everything. I feel nervous. I feel scared. I feel these feelings of unworthiness, which is like very root, root wounds. But yeah, just like noticing it and collaborating with it. Like I'm not really gonna learn unless I'm going through it and just keep, like letting it really just kind of shower like a shower, right? Like washing it away. And I'm discovering that the more that I just keep moving forward, like the momentum, which is so in theme with this year and the year of the fire horse, right? Like,
Yeah.
like I'm really feeling that energy of momentum, and it feels so activating because it's just like this very strong energy and very, like, it's piercing through. Everything is activated, even the things that are uncomfortable, but like it's just moving forward, and you're either going to hop on or you're going to be left behind. Like that's where we are, I think. Yeah. And I think that is like the energy what's really guided me here. And you're also playing a really important role because you're the only person who is really witnessing this experience having and holding also the container for me to use my voice and to, yeah, like share the wisdom of the journey that I've been on. And yeah, like you said that I'm like I feel really grounded, and I don't feel I don't feel that grounded, but again, like I'm a mother, so I don't really have a choice, like everything is here, but at the same time, the roots have to be, like they're
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So there's that frequency of motherhood, the motherhood experience. Um, yeah. And yeah, and I guess like the biggest conduit of all of this is Mary Magdalene. So I started this journey with her in 2016, which is coincidentally the way that it happened, the way that she was revealed to me was on the first weekend that I've ever sat with the medicine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
So
I
it was actually through the medicine that it came to you.
yeah, like a dieta, right? Like you have the medicine, she opens up the portal where everything, is there, and the Magdalene really came through on my first ceremony.
Wow.
And um, yeah, and after that weekend, I signed up for this apprenticeship with Womb Awakening. So I immediately after I had my first ceremony, a month later, I started my Womb Awakening apprenticeship with Sarah and Nazar Bertrand.
Hmm.
Are I think one of the like
How
the
did you make the, sorry to interrupt, but before we move forward, like how did you make the connection between the Magdalene and the womb awakening? How did that all like come to you?
yeah. I mean, it's really. difficult to put into words. But what led me to the medicine was my, this trauma that I've had with my sexual energy and my sexuality and my womb. All of my root trauma is there, and that's what really guided me to the medicine.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like, I guess the connection was, my awareness was suddenly like, it's just all came down to my womb. I was very much up living up here, disassociated, and then for the first time I landed in my womb. And yeah, I felt like it's such a like vast landscape. There was a lot to work with, a lot to heal, and um yeah, and then like I just there was one woman there, Annabelle, who was also my mentor. So she was a teacher at this school. At this at that time it was called Fountain of Life. And she mentioned, I brought this up of like, oh, I just felt connected to my womb for the first time. Like, I think probably for the first time in my life. And what do I do with this? Because it feels so big. And I need to integrate this. And she opened that door for me. So through Womb Awakening, I think like the whole school is about the lineage of the Magdalene. So it's not necessarily, oh, the Magdalene revealed herself to me, but the lineage and the work, which is very much it just lives in the womb. So that's what really guided me to this work with the Magdalene. Yeah, and it's one of those things where it was like far fetched, right? Like during that apprenticeship, sometimes I'm just like, this just feels like too much. I don't know how much of this, like, how much of this really is landing with me. But somehow I always like found myself on the same thread, and it's the only body of work that for me feels that is closest to home with my body, and closest to my soul lineage. It's the only lineage that really makes me feel like I know, yeah, it feels like me. Yeah.
It's interesting because so for me, all this has been revealed in the medicine space and in the plant medicine space, and so it was a little bit easier, and it wasn't like even revealed. Funny you're saying that it was revealed to you in the medicine space. So I find like, there's almost like a correlation between the plants and so I feel that, I mean, I've had my journey with it to a degree through the plants and through the medicine and like through the diets and exploring these kind of like, and some of it was like, whoa, I don't know how to reconcile all these things. So I'm gonna have to like be open to something that hasn't been like particularly taught to me or even transmitted through the lineage that I was initiated in the medicine space, because it's not something that, you know not in the indigenous. I mean, there are different transmissions available, but this particular one is not something that has come through the lineage work. And so it was actually like through connecting with other women within the space who are practicing women, medicine women, where we started having these conversations, and we were like all of it, like a few of the women that I was and am in continuous communication about, we started discovering these things on our own through the medicine. We're like, wait a second, there's something going on here. So that was really helpful to be in the space of other people where like I am not losing my marbles, because part of it is like, well, like where's the line between sanity and like these concepts are a little uh
Forbidden.
forbidden, unusual. What
Yeah.
I found within myself is like, whoa, this cannot, this is just like this is like, I mean, you're kidding me, right? And then the uncovering the such deep judgments and fears around what this could be or what this could represent, and the whole idea of like a witchcraft or like the what you said, a witchy wound. And I've had many times in my medicine experiences like flashes of like medieval times and like the witch hunt, and I was like, okay, so this kind of um energy, this kind of experience lives beyond this physical body of mine in this, but there is still a memory. And so much of it, I was like, okay, well, I mean, there's that. There's just like this fear of prosecution, fear of uh, feeling so profoundly unsafe to what I've come to experience is my voice. Is like, can I say what I really think? Can I say what I really, can I share what I really believe, even if people disagree with me? But because so much of my life I've spent in like getting smaller so that I'm not fully seen, not fully expressed, so that I fit in. I don't ruffle any feathers. I don't create any, and so I was like, okay, this is really confronting. And what I may say may not land for a lot of people. Maybe I'm afraid that I will be cast out, you know, um, whatever, judged and deemed like I'm crazy. And so for me, the grounding was like, because I trusted the medicine and I really I mean, the plants taught me everything I know. And so I, I just had this undeniable, unshakable loyalty and trust and love in relationship that I built with plants. And so they kept bringing me these concepts, they kept bringing me to these experiences. So I was like, okay, I trust you. So if you're taking me here, then I'm going, and I'm being open and willing to be open. And they really sort of built this out for me in the sense like meeting the people, finding the space where this could be um, talked about, and learned about things that I've learned from you on this journey. And so for me, it was the plants that brought me to this place. And but you did it. You had the experience, and then you went on the apprenticeship, and it was like, what was the grounding thing that was like, this is a lot, and not turning away from it? Like, what carried you?
It was this deep, really deep knowing that there was an untold story. And it was an untold story that was very personal to me, that it was about me, but I knew that it was so much more than that. And it was about women
Mm,
and, just women as just like this, creator. And yeah, it was just the knowing. Like I just wanted to just I think the mission for me, what really kept me going, was I just wanted to reunite with the mother, with the great mother, the cosmic mother. And I remember when working with the medicine, always my intention was like, I just want to connect and melt into the cosmic mother. I just was always finding her. And it's very much connected to my own mother wound, which I've done a lot of. There's a lot of work with that. But I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
just like this, like creator, like I know that it's we're miracles, and I think that just like all the information that's out there, it just I just always knew there was so much more. There was this knowing. And even though it felt more like maybe a fairy tale, there was a part of me that was like, it's more than a fairy tale, you know? So it was this, yeah, just this inner the knowing, like gnosis.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Um, what is the if you know, if you can speak to it, to the calling of doing this work, or rather um, coming to this place of actually sharing this, what's happening here for you, and in relationship with women, and because um, I had this download. I kind of want to stay away from like the words that can alienate a lot of people, but like this, let's call it inspiration, but it was just like concrete, to build space for women. And And when we had our first call, I was like, wait a second. First call, I mean, like, that started this whole journey. Wait a second. I'm not alone here. There's a partnership here. And and I sat with that. And for me, it was, for me personally, my experience is like, I am supposed to collaborate with you on this. Um, so that was my, I don't know, like a read on what's happened inside of you or whatnot. And I really love to hear like your internal experience of like what's coming through, and what it maybe wants to be, if you know, or where is it leading you, what wants to be shared, expressed, created.
Yeah, so I think that, this thing that you mentioned about like this witch wound, right? And being afraid of saying something that might ruffle some feathers or might be not received very well. And this kind of like this ancient fear of persecution, right? And you know what? I think that maybe even 10 years ago, having these conversations would still be dangerous. But it really feels that right now is a time where these conversations can be had and they need to be had. And a part of what is really what's been revealed to me is that like like the rebuild team, right? Like these priestesses, they ran temple economies. They studied their magic. They studied their, like their power and wisdom and everything that we know about priestesses and goddesses. It was done in the temples. But the temples at one point were, they were taken. They were all persecuted and erased. And we can see that the records are there. And I just really feel that right now it's like this rebuilding. And I know a lot of women who are part of the rebuild team. So when I hear of women who are speaking up and coming out with their voices and, sharing practices or sharing or holding containers and just creating this body of work and making it accessible to more women. Um, yeah, it's a part of this rebuilding of these temple economies that these priestesses ran thousands of years ago. And yeah, I just feel like that I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that because we look at the world today, right? And it's just like unbelievable what's going on. It's and it's crumbling. Those structures, their old systems are dying. So what's going to carry us forward? And I really think that it's not that, oh, the feminine is returning and we're going to be run by the woman. It's that there's going to be this union. And I think it's the union of, the masculine and the feminine. And when we think about matriarchs and matriarchal societies, it's not just women who are in power, it's the feminine centering what's really important, which is connection to nature and the earth, children, mothers, protecting what's really sacred. And yeah, and I think that we're, kind of feels like we're pivoting in that direction. I don't know if it will happen in this lifetime, but I definitely want to be a part of that weaving. I like to think of this being a future ancestor,
Mm.
right? Like, yeah, I'm a future ancestor. So what do I want to, what seeds do I want to plant for, future generations? And when they look back, I want them to really, have something. And that's the legacy and that's the wealth. Are we connected again?
Yeah, working at future
Okay.
generations. What's
Yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, just thinking about that, what legacy do we want to leave behind? And it's this thing that really came online when I became a mother. Because, being a woman and being a mother is like, there's so many different aspects of it. And I think one that is not spoken about enough is this like drive and fierceness to protect our children. It because we're nurturing, it's life giving, but also like we want to create. I know that I want to create um, a legacy for them, and like a path that's going to protect them and carry them forward. So yeah, that's how it came online for me is with my journey and becoming and that frequency of power. And I think that's where the secret lies for a lot of mothers is like this, and something that I didn't agree with for a very long time, this thing of being a gentle mother, a mother that's nice, and a mother that's like submissive. And there's like this new wave of trad wives, right? Have you
Try.
heard of trad wives? So there's this new wave of women who are basically like marketing themselves as stay-at-home moms. These old systems of how women were viewed, right? Like cooking, making bread, and homeschooling their children, and like being just at home while their husbands are the ones who are bringing in the finances. And, like for me, feels a little bit, it just doesn't feel right for me. Like a lot of it is, yeah, we're that, but I know that there's more than that. I know that there's this aspect of the mother that we're afraid of, and it's like this the dark mother. And the dark mother is not necessarily like a negative thing. I
Hmm.
think that a lot of women or a lot of people are afraid to even touch that territory. But the Black Madonna, I mean, like the Dark Mother, she is like if you look at how she is, she's regal. She's like an embodied holy mountain, and she holds a lot of power, legacy, wealth, abundance. So that's an aspect of the mother that I feel most connected to. And I've been really, yeah, like calling in. So that's what's, yeah, bringing me to opening, like just using my voice. Yeah,
And also the voice is connected to the womb.
yeah, to the womb. Yeah. And that's like, yeah, for me at least, like where my root trauma is. I've had my experience with that. And my first like violation was around my womb, and then immediately after being silenced for so many years, and this reclamation of my voice. And yeah, it's and I think that's the case for almost all women.
I think you're right. The
Yeah.
more I go with this, I feel like it's yeah, in one in more extreme or more subtle ways. You know, I that's true. That's true.
Yeah, because there's this aspect of the woman that is like has always been demonized, and even by the religious institutions, like being a woman is stained, like to be born a woman is to be born of sin. To menstruate is something that is like, seen as dirty. And so I think that that's just how already, like, how this we're imprinted into that frequency, of, oh, we're not worthy, and, we're something's wrong. We didn't do it right, and God is punishing us.
Yes.
And I think that's why the Magdalene is so, I love that she's a controversial figure.
She brings up a lot of stuff for
She
sure.
does
And
a lot.
I believe that it is because of the controversy. Because it almost, not almost, but it certainly makes us face the controversy within ourselves and the division and the fracturing and the distortion and the beliefs that we have inherited, subscribed to, and paid forward. And not only that, we did it to ourselves, but we also um, paid it forward with other women, because I was like, there is no more a vicious situation than a woman who really dislikes you or better hates you. I mean, this is worse than a freight train coming at you. You know what I'm saying? This is like pure destruction. And so it's like, okay, where all of this goes and what happens with all this energy um, that we're terrified of. And so yeah, and this is, and then that's exactly the perfect point of like that's the controversy is what makes it so revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like we're willing to lean into that and be like, okay, so now what? And I feel like for me, it also causes for a much deeper thing beyond polarization, beyond like this is right, this is wrong, this is light, this is dark, this is this is that, all the labeling that we have in our kind of analytical, linear way of experiencing the world. It takes us like way beyond that, way beyond the story, beyond the mind that narrates. There's a different kind of language and there's a different kind of alchemy that takes you to those really, really deep, dark places that are actually within ourselves to reconcile and create medicine in the ways that we are not even aware that exists. Does that make sense?
It's the language of the feminine. That's like the feminine dimension, and the depths. And that's why I like symbolism in this work is really like the language that we need to learn, right? Because only through the symbols can we really understand the deeper meanings behind things. And yeah, and I wanted to touch on two things about Magdalene. And it was how she was portrayed. And yeah, so like just her name, right? Like Mary Magdalene. So Mary, when we do the etymology and really look at the root meanings of the words, Mary in Latin means mar, ocean, and Magdalene means doorway, tower, watchtower. So when you put them together, it's actually like when it's the magical doorway or the watchtower. And she was known as the tower.
Ah,
And
yes, yes,
carries
Magdalit.
yeah, and it carries a frequency, and that's like the biggest clue because that was a name that was supposedly given to her, supposedly given to her, but it's actually a title, and she's not the only one who's had that name. So it's a name that's been, you go back to Isis, the
Yeah.
Egyptian, yeah. So Isis was known as Mary Isis,
Oh.
and even the Hathors were known as Mary Hathor. So it was a title, and yeah, just understanding the symbology of what, like even in the medieval art that portrays Magdalene, she is seen as like a mermaid, or she's seen as somebody who's regal. And that's where the tower comes in, because the tower really represents feminine structure. And
Mm,
the
mm.
mermaid iconography, which you can find in churches, like you see these mermaids in certain places and basilicas, and they symbolize the feminine, like the depths, the ocean, the yeah, like the underworld, which is definitely a space for the feminine. And when you bring these two together, it really creates like this superpower structure, right? Like you have this structure, power, and architecture of the tower, and the source of it is the water, which is life, which is the depths, right? And learning, just like, I think that was in the beginning of my journey with Magdalene, is like learning how to see through a lot of stuff, like putting on my witch eyes in a sense, and just
Which
like,
goggles?
yeah, witch goggles. And because it's really interesting. It's not that it's hidden from us, it's actually in plain sight. It's all in plain sight. We just need to really see like the deception behind everything. Because you take a little granule of truth, right? Like one thread of truth, and then you like wrap it around with a bunch of lies, it's going to go a very long way. And I think that's what they've done with Magdalene, is that they've, at first they said she was a prostitute, she was a whore, she was a fallen woman. And now, we're saying, okay, she's not that. She's was actually a saint, or she was an apostle, and she was a spiritual leader in a sense. But I think that we don't want to completely look away from that she was sinful, or that she was a fallen woman, because I think that that's an aspect of her that we can't forget. And it's that, you know, being a fallen woman is that she was just in her body. She wasn't, like this, like it's saintly. She wasn't like ascended. She was in her body, which is
Which is
what,
basically the key for this life because we're
yeah,
not, you
being
see,
in her
this
body.
is
And that's the doorway. The door
yeah, yeah.
body.
You know, it's so fascinating because what I found is that so much of the spiritual teachings are about transcending the body, da 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 da, like non-duality. And I'm like, okay, well, here is my dilemma. I'm in this body and I'm pretty in love with this life. So if I were to transcend it all and go to the origin, what was the whole point of being here? Right? Like, what was the whole point of having this human experience, really? And so for me, that was the missing link is like, what about the body? Like, a lot of these spiritual teachings are talking about some kind of life after life, but life is life here, life is now, and all we have is here is now and now. And so, what do we do with this? And how do we actually? What's the vehicle? What's the pathway to really, like I said, be in the body, like tapping. And then the other concept that came to me was the body is actually the doorway to the divinity. It's in the body, and the body is just absolutely magnificent. It like literally is a temple, literally is a tower of the wisdom beyond what our mind can even comprehend. And often what I found myself is like when I find myself in a pickle in medicine, it's like I was like, whoa, I realized I have this belief like I don't trust my body. And so I was like, oh, hang on one second. I think there's a key, there's a turnaround here. It's like actually my body knows exactly what to do. Exactly what to do, how to function, how to be in this world. There's so many processes happening here that I have no clue about. And there's just this like some kind of like super intelligence runs this thing. And I'm thinking it's like, oh well, I mean like I'm like, what if I choke on my purge? It's like, okay, well that's just and so I realized to the point of like limitation of understanding even our own vehicle, our own vessel. And that's what also like I discovered with Magdalene is like, oh, it is about the body. It's not about like going out there and being like disconnected, dissociated, disembodied. It's actually like coming, bringing back home, and having that transcended, like not transcended even, but that experience of what Jesus was saying, kingdom of heaven is at hand. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's like, meaning it's at hand, like quite literally in your hand, like it is a state of mind, and it is also the experience, like the doorway that we get to have in this body. So that's a really cool point that you're making about the Magdalene and the whole like sinful nature is like, well, that's also the kind of like the main narrative is that we're a sinner, we're unworthy, we have to earn things, we have to kind of get back into the womb of creation or the kingdom of heaven and like, line up and get our judgment day. And it always seemed like really, really like it felt really unfair, untrue, and it's like if God is love, then what is happening here? Right?
It's
Um,
almost like an inversion, like a spell, right? Because it just like confuses the mind. And yeah, it's like so in our faces. I think that's like, well, that was her ministry, is that it's
mm.
just coming back into our bodies and descending into our bodies, descending
Ah,
into
I
the
love
womb,
that.
yeah, descending into the womb of earth. And when we look at the crucifixion, it's like when we look at just the image that is depicted, right? So we see Jesus on the cross, and then we see the only women who stayed, the only people who stayed were his mother, Magdalene, and another Mary, the three Marys. So when we look at the symbology of that, it's really the whole crucifixion is really like a rebirth ritual, a goddess rebirth ritual. And so we see his mother there, so she birthed him. And we come through, and this is the real teaching, is that we come through the womb of our mother. And the person who rebirths us is our beloved, is our partner, our soulmate. And Mary,
I've never heard this. I
yeah, so
love it.
Mary Magdalene was seen as like, now people are saying and uncovering that she was, yeah, like her and Jesus were union. They were unified. And yeah, like in that whole image, he was really rebirthed through her womb because she was a priestess, she was an initiator, and she was the one who anointed him also. So she was the one who really rebirthed him through the womb of creation and helped him ascend. And that's what she was trained to do. That's what these priestesses were trained to do. Even Mother Mary, like it's all the same lineage. So these women were seen as wombs of light. The wombs of light, like there's this thing called it's Theotokos. You can find that word in the Bible. Like they're known as Theotokos, which is womb of light. And that's the power that's been demonized because that's a power that lives within all of us, including men.
Yeah. And
It's the
it's
power of,
huge. It's
yeah, it's the
huge.
power
It's
of the womb
huge.
because it's like that invisible, what do you say, like invisible thread that connects us directly to the womb of creator, where we come from, God, goddess, whatever you want to call call it. And that's what's been severed is that connection, that to that, and that was that feeling that I felt that first ceremony that I sat in. Right, it's like I just landed there, and I'm like, wow, this is huge, and it lives in my body. I have to, I have to explore this. I have to explore this. And none of it in my journey, in my spiritual journey, it never felt like I was awakening or ascending. It wasn't like this light journey. It was very much underworld ascending, very earthy, very raw, very in my body. And I just remember at one point just feeling like so revealed, like revealed in my body, feeling the shame of being in my body, but then really then moving through that and landing in the power and magic that it lives in my body. And I really felt that for the first time when I gave birth to my children. Because it's such a miracle. It's such a miracle that we hold life. We're the portals that really are the connection to heaven and earth. It comes through our womb. And somehow, like spirit comes through and our body gestates this life. And then we birth it out as if by like nothing. And it's an intelligence. It's an intelligence that we already have. And even the process of giving birth is such a thing. Like for me to give natural birth, unmedicated birth, I had to, you know, take birthing classes. I had to get a doula. I had to fly across India to go to a birthing center.
During
And for
COVID.
during
During COVID.
COVID,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for me, that was, I think, my first reclamation of
Yeah.
body, and I'm going to do this my way, like taking my body back and taking the authority back. Like I'm no longer going to be told what to do. I'm no longer going to be violated because, within the medical system, you go through all these interventions, and most women end up in a C-section, without consent. And it's like carries this frequency of abuse, right? It's abusive. And I knew that it was not meant to be abusive. I knew that birth was going to be the biggest ceremony and initiation of my life. So I treated it as that. Yeah. And going through that process was like, it was just leaning into the organic intelligence of the body. And there are no words for it. It's just a knowing, and it's just a partnership and a collaboration, right? Just like when we collaborate with the plants, we need to collaborate with our bodies, with this vehicle. And only then can we really, really create magic. Which for me, my first like creation that I knew was magic was my children. It's like this is just actually magical. It's a miracle. And it was all done through my body. So that signature stayed with me, that intelligence. I know that is there. And it's that same signature that I know can create more than just children. It can create legacy. It can create some containers for more women, more people to become more embodied and land in the magic of being in their bodies again, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, talking about this is like everything except maybe for the plants, but the living beings that are um, like insects and whatnot, right? Particularly mammals and animals, is like it comes through the female body, whether you're an animal or human or bird. it's like almost like the female body in the sense is like a portal into the physical manifestation. And I love that it had this interesting experience in the medicine when I had this, like I love calling tree plants and trees are they're great philosophers too. And so they can really, really explain certain concepts and certain things that we are trying to understand. And so um, I was pondering that idea about like descent, right? Like, what is the descent that the Bible describes? And is it like just an error of like scribes error, or is it a corruption, or what is it? And then the explanation I received was like the descent is not a fall from grace. But say if you're vibrating at a certain level, you can only be like, for example, sound, right? Vibrates, but, and we can see it's through this. I forget what it's called when you put like sand on a drum and then put the sound in cymatics, I think it's called,
Yeah, yeah.
and it starts creating this physical form, right? But you need a physical vehicle for the sound to be visible, right? So, and so like the energy is like that. It's about descending into the density, into the form. It's not a fall, but it's exactly that. And so that was a like a revelation. I was like, that really lands, that really resonates versus like I've done something, then I fell out of grace. And now I have to spend my life like earning that grace back so I can go back to something I don't really know, but something told me that this is where I want to be, And so it was just like I felt a little gaslighting in a way, and um, so and also something came that's you were talking about this submissive female role, which is or kind of like only one particular aspect. And another thing that I learned through plants is like they were like, well, look to nature. When in doubt, look to nature. Like, what do you see in nature? And so in the Shipibo tradition, particularly, right? So when they call for protection, well, there are many ways to call for protection, but one of a powerful protection is to call the black jaguar energy. And because black jaguar energy is so powerful, and so, but what they do, they always call a female because when you have the black jaguar female, if she has her cubs, she would die, but she would not back down. And she's fierce and she's powerful and she will stand her ground till her death. And so for that kind of protection, like they call black jaguar to, yeah, if I have this energy with me, like not a lot of things are going to try to mess with me, or even if they do, they will meet a fierce energy, a fierce boundary, right? So, and it's funny that for me, that energy came through my mom. I was, familiar with that and kind of like fascinated by the idea. And one of the ayahuasca's manifestations is the jaguar energy, or she carries a lot of that energy. And so one time I was actually doing work for my mom, uh, and all of a sudden, this jaguar appeared, black jaguar, and I understood something about that mother connection, that fierce, like I won't back down. Like it's when I've heard many times from people who become parents when they say like I didn't really understand how I could die for somebody, but having children, it would not be even a question. It's just like it takes away that wishy-washy fearful thing. It's like there is no fear when it comes to that. And I love that in the teachings of the Shipibos, as they say, like when these energies, when we cultivate these energies, right, in the medicine space, they come in And we really need to learn to harness it. They call it domesticating it, you know? But domesticating, not like making it a pet. But for example, if you have these energy come in and you have a ton of rage, it's going to go everywhere and it's going to be pretty destructive. So there's this like fine kind of line, and I understood too when this energy came to me, for example, through my mom, when I was more balanced, when I didn't have those like traumatic, rageful kind of motions moving through me, when I didn't know what to do with myself. So it's like, had I had that energy, it would have been just, I would have been unhinged. But then when I learned to ride the wave, domesticate my own that expression, then it came slowly through my mother, through this idea of love. Before you get this all this power, the grounding force is love. And that's like when people have these like spontaneous kundalini experiences, and they often say like, well, I went into egoic state because I felt like I was invincible, but it was coming from ego because it was still not rooted in love and not grounded in that like tower, like knowing what the truth is. And I kept coming back to the idea is that what is the truth? And the truth is love. The only true medicine is love, you know. And it sometimes may not be the obvious or apparent thing, but that's the only real, the only really reality, and the rest is kind of like a little bit distorted, you know, to levels. And talking about the, you know, you mentioned about the tower energy, and it's so interesting for me too when I've learned about Magdalene, and I through Hebrew, and when I looked up the Magdalit, which is in the Hebrew word for it, and then the translation for it is a tower, it blew my mind. It blew my mind because at that time, right before I learned that, I was doing a diet with Chinese elm, and I was just really profoundly impressed with its medicine. And I know it's used in Chinese medicine a lot. Um, but I, the thought that occurred to me, I was like, I hope somebody else knows what this is, because this is unbelievable. And that particular, because there's a concept in the medicine about towers. So there's a tower for your diet, there's a tower for your mind, there's a tower for your world, there's a tower for your body, there's a tower for your medicine. And that Chinese elm taught me so much about the towers because it opened its field, and all I could see is these towers of light. And this idea in the shamanism and in the Shipibo shamanism, I would say, and maybe there a similar concept exists. I would love to actually discover if that's true. But this idea aligning to the tower and toward the tower, and it was mind blowing learning about the Magdalene. That's what it is, and then because yeah, I mean I've experienced towers before, but the this particular like making that connection and having that experience about the towers, um, it was incredible, like to understand it experientially through interacting with it, and like really feeling what it does um, for us. So um, I read your mentor's article about the towers, and I just swallowed it. And I was like, okay, this is incredible information, you know? Um, so, yeah, like I am discovering that there's, and maybe it's me, you know, maybe because I'm feeling cold to it. It's like you said, like we don't see it's in plain sight, but we don't see it because, you know, like I realized something too is that we only have we only can see what we have eyes to see, what we've been trained to see, what we've been conditioned to see, and then so we look for it. It's autonomic, you know. We're not even like um, we're not even aware that it's kind of like you're looking for something, you know, and then it's right in front of you, and you've looked everywhere, but here. And that's how I feel sometimes. It's like we're looking everywhere, and I've looked everywhere until you know, like um, the Magdalene started showing. It's like this is like home, you know, and I've looked everywhere but there. And then when I did it all, so yeah, yeah. And then the more I went, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I do feel the transmission happening because I got it through you.
That's what a transmission is. It's like you're receiving a frequency or like an energy, like and it's not necessarily, you have to feel it because it goes beyond the words. It's like you feel it, you receive it with your body and with your senses, and then it lands in a different way, not just in the mind, but it just like lands. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that about the towers in your medicine work. And that's why I know that, one of the other, there's so many different aspects of the Magdalene, right? One of the aspects that she's known as is a plant priestess. And I know that this lineage of the watchtower, or this lineage of priestess women, they were plant priestesses. They worked with plants. And I really feel like you can't separate these two bodies of work. They go hand in hand. And I wonder, like, maybe that's where the tower emerged from the plants. Like they might have received that knowledge system directly from the plants. And
Interesting.
yeah, and
Interesting.
I mean that's just something that I'm just thinking about right now. Actually, I made that connection. Yeah, they were known to journey with plants. They worked with plant medicines, and yeah, and I always felt that. Like, that's why I invited you to the call, because I just know that you know the plants are really the guide, just like for me, right? And for you as well. Like we connected with the Magdalene through the plants.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
like I just can't separate them, these two worlds. They're very much intertwined.
I tried that too. I was like, well, this is this and this is that. And I was like, I
They
can't,
just
I
they
can't,
just keep
yeah.
they keep leading back to each other, It's really interesting. And I wanted to speak about something in the lineage of the Shipibo, like when I was doing the diets and stuff, and this thing about cleaning and clearing. And at one point, it was like I, at one point, I thought I'm too clean. Like I'm too clean to really dive into that work right now with the Magdalene, because it felt too dense and it felt too murky. And then I kind of like dismissed it. I was like, no, this is not the way, only the plants are the way. This is the right way. And then at one point in that journey, I found myself really like in this like bubble of shame, like suddenly becoming so like yeah, just ashamed of being in my body and doing things the wrong way. Like, okay, I can't do this because this was gonna stain me, or I have to keep myself in this bubble.
Yeah, yeah.
But eventually it was like, no, they I have to kind of find a balance between these two worlds, right? Like it can't be fully clear and light and clean and structured and like puritanical. It needs to also be like feminine, sensual, abundant, wealthy, beautiful, like all the things that are depicted as feminine, and what Magdalene represents is like like she was like a luxurious woman. Like that's how I see her. She's very luxurious, very regal, and I really connect with her frequency when I'm dancing, like very sensual, very flowy, right? And really merging these two systems now for me feels like, okay, so much more embodied and balanced, right? Because I couldn't lean towards one heavily. I had to be in the middle, I had to be between both to really allow it to land, like just like the full spectrum of being, you know, in this body. And yeah, and that's what it is. It's like a full spectrum. You can't just put it in a box. We can't put ourselves in a box. It's like we really have to lean into the full landscape of who we are.
You just touched on something really big for me as well. Um, because as we were like fleshing out the event for the feast day of Magdalene, and there was the song, and so I was like, okay, it has to be a ritual, not a song, because there's this exactly that is that I reached a point with the medicine, with the plants, where I realized like, well, I can go a very traditional way, what I've been taught. Um, and it doesn't necessarily go together. And, but also running the risk of being called or viewed as a delusional and like lost. Um, but running the risk of like saying, okay, well, this is where the plants are taking me. And this is not the most traditional jungle way. And but this is what I was raised in. This is what I was trained in. This is the world, the view, the sort of the framework that I was initiated in. And so at some point, it started kind of splintering, and I was having a really hard time reconciling that within myself. And this is when I started having conversations with other white medicine women who were having similar experiences. And it really, what it brought me to is the same, almost kind of the wound of like, well, I'm gonna step away from the past, or rather answer my own, you know. And in so many ways it was also like what happened with the religion for me, as like when I was like, I just I can't do this. I mean, like, not that I am uh, abdicating the love that I have experienced here, but I also, there's something inside me that tells me there's a different truth for me. And the thing is like to give myself that permission to say like it doesn't have to be true for anybody else as long as it's true for me and I'm true to me. And so there's like this deeper reclamation and this like being scared of saying, like I have received different messaging, even from the plants, from the plants really, because these are the teachers that I have been following, and these are the teachers that have brought me these like some revolutionary ideas, who actually brought me to the womb space and taught me things that I was like, well, I don't even know who I can talk to about it without them telling me like, this is not the way, we don't do it this way. And so I talked to one friend of mine, and she's like, yeah, I get that. And I was like, okay. And we are trained in the like, not by the same teacher, but in the same sort of lineage. Um, and so I realized that a lot of people within the space, I could not bring this information to, because then I would run the risk. I was afraid that I was like, again, ashamed, feeling like I'm doing something wrong, feeling that, oh my God, they're going to tell me that I'm way off the wall and that I need to be fixed. This needs to be clean. This needs to be. And then what I have come to experience and learned, there is deeper medicine beyond the cleaning. There is a deeper, sometimes cleaning is necessary, and I'm not in any way opposed to that. I look at it as like if there's a wound and it's been open and oozing and it needs some cleaning, right? It needs some tending to, but then what's the actual medicine? And so, like, getting in touch with deeper ideas of like, what is the medicine here, right? Like, going to like, what will actually alchemize, what would actually transform, what will actually awaken, or whatever that needs to happen. And sometimes I realize, like, I ask for medicine, it's like, what is the medicine here? I don't know. But the cleaning and renouncing and um, continuing to segregate and splinter was not working for me anymore. It was just not working for me anymore. And I remember this profound vision I had. There was a really dark entity, like kind of devil, with my eyes open in the medicine. And I looked at it, and the sheer horror went through me. I was like, and I'm by myself alone. And I'm like, okay, this is way above my pay grade. And I walked myself into something that I am not going to handle. And I'm, and I just prayed. I was like, I really am, this is beyond me. I'm terrified of this thing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's supposed to happen here. And so I prayed, and Jesus came, like, and stood right in front of it, and kind of translucent that I could still see that that thing was still there. And he came, and I was like, oh, great, he's going to do something for me. And I was like, and all he did was like, with both hands pointing to the chest. I was like, right, the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Okay, this is the answer. This is the answer. Okay, Jesus, like, bring out your Sacred Heart. Let's dispel this thing. And it just like doesn't happen. And I'm like, I don't understand what's supposed to happen. And then eventually I said to him, it's like, are you telling me to open my heart? And I'm like, no, 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 no. Now is not the time. Now is not the time. There's a devil here. So like, what are you talking about? And he just kept standing there and pointing at his heart. And I was like, well, that's the only thing I haven't tried. I was like, okay, I mean, hold me by the hand because I'm terrified, but like seems like the only way out of this whole horrific situation. And what it took me on the journey when I finally landed in my heart is like, there's no other way. I mean, I just have to trust him. And it took me on a profound journey of forgiveness. It's like, well, how am I going to clean this guy? How am I going to like make him go away? And it wasn't about that. And it took me on a profound journey of forgiveness of my personal life story, like things that happened. Um, and then it started showing me war in Ukraine. And I was seeing this like horrific visions of, and getting in touch with pain of mothers who lose their children and the earth hurting and all of these things and all of this. And then I said, are you asking me to forgive? This is too much. And it was like beyond my mind. It was beyond verbal. It was beyond like just keep your heart open here. You know? Don't let the mind run you too far. But like just keep the mind open here. Like just that's all that is being asked. And that was like, you know, I was like, I was like, okay. And it wasn't easy. and it also allowed me to get in touch with some parts that I've been so holding on to out of pain, but I was like, oh my God, it wasn't about right or wrong and cleaning this and doing this. It was something way beyond all of that. And so that's when one of the experiences where I started understanding, okay, there's something bigger. And then, and actually for me, it was Jesus who brought the Magdalene. So she came through him to me, because I feel like my first relationship was with him. That I was like, I had that moment of like that connection, that I knew, okay, there is just that like undeniable truth and undeniable love in it. And then it didn't last very long, but it was enough to say like, okay, to set the tower up so that I can, like, it's like a lighthouse, and I was oriented. Does this feel like this? No. Does this feel like this? No. And then when I came to the plants, I was like, now I know. I don't know what I know, but I know that in something, like you said, beyond words. And for me, it was like through him that I found, discovered Magdalene, um, and discovered the womb space. So it's fascinating to me to hear like you went straight there. I was like, okay. Well, I was also so inspired um, when you were pregnant with your first child, and you were going down to the birthing center across country in the packed plane in the middle of COVID. And I remember just this admiration. I was like, I don't know how you do it.
You know what? At that, it was the way that that happened, the way that that whole experience unfolded was just trust, because there was no plan, there was no system to get us there. We didn't know anybody in Kerala. It was just like I knew that, and a part of it was like my child guiding the process as well, because suddenly there was this connection, this union in my, literally in my body. And there was a lot that he was opening up, and I knew it. Like I knew him, like I know this is he's guiding the way, and I just need to trust him. And yeah, like giving him a voice too, right? Like I can feel that that's what needed to be done, and that's the space that he wanted to come in. So I had to honor that and create those circumstances for him to have a really profound entrance into this world. And it wasn't easy, Sasha, because
I bet. Phew.
if I would have been in a different situation, it would have immediately been a C-section because of how things unfolded. Like he got stuck. So I was pushing for almost 2 hours in excruciating pain. And at one point, I think that even the midwife was like, okay, if we're not coming out of this in another 10 minutes, we're going to rush you to the hospital. But it was just the trust, just trust. Without understanding it, without putting logic into it, I just knew that I'm going to go there and everything's going to fall into place. And everything did fall into place. We got an apartment, and we just met community. Everything just fell into place as if by magic. And it
Mm.
was all rooted in that like trust without getting into the logistics of it in my mind. Because I knew that there was just another force that was really at play.
Sounds like he was like your initiator.
He was my initiator big time. He still is as my eldest. And
I love
that's like that's Yeah, I think that was like the even thinking of it now, 5 years later, it sounds insane. It sounds so crazy. Like, what was I thinking? But
No, I mean, for us, for from the outside, I was like,
like, what was, and really like so grateful for our family who also was like, okay, like there's no getting through to her. We just have to trust her. So it was really an experience for everybody. And then to come out of that experience in the best outcome, a healthy baby, beautiful postpartum, very magical experience, it was like for me the most profound ceremony of my life. And of course, so many things prepared me for that, including the medicine, including my work with my womb and the Magdalene. Like all of that created that inner trust for me to land in that experience and be fully embodied and trust, like, renegotiating the terms in my body, like, okay, now we're really collaborating and I'm getting out of my mind and just trusting what my body needs and wants. And yeah. And when we come to that, like, actual magic starts to happen. Things that like really leave you speechless, right? Like when you're working with diets and when you're working with the medicine, there are things that come into the manifest where you're just left speechless. So we start to really like collaborate with this magic.
well, I'll argue something here
Yeah.
about your initiator. Well, I love what you said about the through the union, right? There's a wow, how did you put it?
The union in my body of
The union of Magdalene and Christ.
huh.
Like there's initiation or activation of some sort. I don't remember how exactly you put it, but I remember that picture that you posted when he was like, I don't know, a couple of months old maybe. And there's a picture of you. It's like imprinted in my mind forever. You're holding him. I think you were still in India then, and you're holding him. Um, and then the caption caption says, "I never knew a love so pure," and it was like a code. It was like a code, and that like stuck with me. And I wonder too is that he was the activator of that code,
Yeah.
which is in your body, and then it's kind of like, well, it didn't seem that crazy at the time because there was something bigger,
Yeah.
that made it all possible.
Getting bigger, and I was in that with the first pregnancy, with the first child, the first child is the initiator because they're initiating you into motherhood, right? And it restructures everything. Like biologically, it's scientifically proven the woman is not the same after birth in every way. And yeah, like I feel that I was like in my animal senses at that time. Like I felt more. I just remember feeling, and I kept telling Raha this, like I feel like a tigress, like I feel like a cat. Like I was so present, so aware, so like there was this power. It was pristine, but like at the same time extremely activating. And that is what was online, and that's what was really making the calls at that time. It was my animal self. Yeah. And that never goes away because a part of postpartum is embodying that new awareness, that animal awareness, that animal instinct. And I think that that's why it's so easy to fall into postpartum depression because I don't think that we have the support systems to really allow that embodiment to really happen. And it's so sacred. Like, imagine to have that level of awareness fully embodied if all women had that. most women do, but I think that it's dimmed after some time, you know, just the circumstances and the containers being there to support that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the container is really what is important, and like talking about container and what's being called, I feel like this is exactly where what's actually not quite present. Um or maybe present in certain ways, you
yeah.
know.
I think containers are there, but
Hmm.
containers for this body of work, this level of power. I don't really want to use the word power, but it's just like, yeah, like this energy that lives in our bodies, like this,
Like
that,
primordial, you know,
yeah,
that's
like,
that's
yeah, like this primordial energy that is confronting, is demonized, you know, and like you say, we sometimes, even sometimes I'm afraid of saying certain things around certain people or certain circles. I don't always say everything or keep things, you know, a bit. I tone them down because I know that it's going to land like a bomb. So where can we play with that energy in a container that can hold that, you know, bomb and that
yeah, yeah.
those conversations, you know, and those activations because they're really activations.
Yes, yes, yes.
They're activations, yeah.
And do it in a very grounded way, because safe and grounded and aware of the necessary boundaries that have to exist at different stages and different levels of it, because I mean, we bring our adversity and our trauma to this as well, and so if it can go haywire really really quickly. And I think that the part of, like, you know, when people say like, well, the dangers with kundalini experience, I have a beef with that though, because I don't believe that kundalini, and maybe I'm like way wrong, but I think kundalini knows when it's ready. However, um, I would say that there's so much predatory energy around it. There's just so much opportunistic energy around it. It's like you said, it's power. And if you are not integrated enough and held in a specific way where you can start landing into it, it can take a turn easily. Like, yes, I can certainly see that. Yes, yes. And I think that there is a lot in the space of like womb healing. And I think we had the conversation. Um, like there's a lot of this energy that I discovered when I started like playing with these spaces in terms of womb healing, womb awakening. This is kind of a buzzword right now, womb awakening, or manifestations from through your wound, or orgasm your way into wealth or something like this. You know, there are all these like different things. And I, you know, like talking about the judgment or not, I was like, let me just stay open and see what is actually here. And so I, um from the rigid kind of my rigid self, I was like, I don't want to like come into it and be like all judgy and, you know, labely. But then I just felt like something in my body and my nervous system was like, it's some like you put it exactly perfectly. You said it's a grain of truth and there's a lot of stuff on it, and all kinds of different ways that are maybe not like channeled in the um, i- in the love centered, like truly love centered. I'm not talking about uh, rainbows and unicorns and butterflies and spiritual bypass and override and like it's all about love and let's just be happy, but like love that went deep and emerged, right? And the integrity, and so I felt kind of this in my body until I've learned, like, your voice often would pop and it's like, I trust my body. And so I was like, okay, I have to trust my body to know, like, when my body goes like this doesn't feel a safe space. And then when we had that conversation on the phone, I was like, oh, oh, like, my body can open. I can have this. I feel my heart. I feel safe. And I'm like, okay, this is it. This is it. Do I always know what I'm doing? Often I'm like, no, I'm just gonna walk into a situation, open my heart, trust my body, and really like call in the guidance and partner and receive support and collaborate with, a person. And so I was just like, yeah, it's like you just nailed it exactly. Exactly. And it feels like a big wave. It's like that's part that scares me a little bit. It's like, whoa. I mean, where it can go.
And we can only learn from direct experience. So if we turn away, then there's no real growth there. So really leaning into it. But that's why I like this term of the architecture and the structure, because this thing that you're talking about, some of these spaces are just very ungrounded,
Yes.
a bit too flowy, a little bit too, like ascended.
Yes.
And the where are the roots, and where's the structure that's holding it in place? Because that is like when we receive, like when I receive a transmission, I received a few transmissions that were like they came like bombs, but I needed to have the structure and architecture in place to really be able to allow it to land, and allow it to land in a way that wouldn't take me too far, that also knowing the boundaries within myself, and that I love, yeah, that, and I think that's what needs to be, that's what's not explored enough, is like the architecture of bodies and the feminine, and how do we prepare our bodies to, just like you prepare for a ceremony, right? In architecture, you're preparing for that communion. It's the same with this. Like we want to create those circumstances and that structure in order to bring in that level of wisdom, light, or transmission or expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love what you said about boundaries within myself.
yeah.
This is like such a big and important concept that I don't think is like really even brought up enough.
And it's
Um,
different for everybody, right? Like
mhm.
I know that the boundaries that I have are going to be different from what you have or from what other people
Right,
have, right?
right, right.
But being
Exactly.
able to be in a space where we can all have these inner boundaries and
And
honor.
know ourselves enough to know
Yeah,
what they are.
yeah.
That's exactly right. It's like know thyself. I just like keep saying like know thyself because that's where you know where like all your answers and all your keys are. I love that. Also, what you were saying about transmission, because we are kind of like I love how Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it. It's like the science is the new mystical, because like it kind of like speaks to both, right? To all people equally, because we all subscribe to the science. And so I feel that we're in this really important pivotal moment where like there's the new age kind of um, lineage coming in, or if, I don't know what to call it, but the new age spirituality. Yeah, and then and there's like traditional spirituality, and some of the new age stuff is a little more um, available, and there's just so much of this like stuff taken from the ancient and kind of like put in a new packaging, if that makes sense. And like so when we talk about transmission, 2 3 years ago I'd be like, oh gosh, what is this? You know what I'm saying? But can you talk a little bit about that? Just like a brief um, thing about like what that is for you and like your experience of it.
With transmission.
Yeah, like what is a transmission like in your
So,
experience?
so I've only received transmissions from two people, and one of them is Saren, who has been my teacher since 2016, a mentor. And the way she gives transmissions is it's both very mystical, but also the receipts are there. The as in the evidence, she has the evidence to back it. And when a transmission is given, as in how I've received it, is it's received almost like a lesson in in a mystical way, but also historical way, and really helps you decode a lot of stuff. And it's just received the way that I have received it is I put my logical mind aside and my feminine brain is on. And I really enter like almost like a dream like space, like a ceremony, right? A very shamanic space. And the lesson is really received with all of my senses. And it's almost like I'm receiving it. A lot of it is like obviously new, but it's actually doesn't feel very new at the same time. It feels like no, all of this information I already knew because it
Like a
already
deja vu, right?
yeah, like it lives inside of me. That's what an activation is. It's something that is already in you and then
Yes.
it's activated. So
Yes.
it's activated this memory or this knowing that I had, which for me in this example is this knowing that yeah, there is this world thousands of years ago that existed where women were in power and women held societies and they were the governant they were they were governing economies, they were running the world, and a lot of it like I knew that that was like almost like amnesia, like I knew that that was the case, but when I would look in historical books and even in school, like I took so many history classes and not it's just not spoken. I had to really really dig, and yeah, I was able to find a lot of it. But with Saren, she was, yeah, like the way that she just brought in that lesson, and then it was, yeah, like I said, it's like this new, but at the same time inner knowing, and then it just takes like I'm still integrating one transmission that I received a year ago. It was around the Watchtower lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes you on a journey and it continue like you receive it and then it takes you on your own unique path because I have my own unique signature, right? So the wisdom is transmuted in its own way, like through my body, so it becomes unique. It becomes a very unique blueprint. Um, and yeah, and then it becomes like a journey of embodiment. And yeah, how do I embody this wisdom? That's the process that I'm in right now. Like I received this transmission on the Watchtower lineage and the symbols, like what these symbols really represented. And yeah, like I'm in that embodiment journey right now of I am now on the path of, creating that architecture to also be a watchtower and like a lighthouse in a sense,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that analogy.
yeah.
Just something that came to me just now as you were speaking is that take it or leave it, or it's just stream of consciousness. Um, to fully integrate it is that it will land fully once you start passing it on.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
like
true.
the next leg, you know?
And that's true because as we're having these conversations since we had our call in February, it really really started to land because I'm sharing it for the first time. And I'm sharing it because like I'm not gonna lie, like at first I'm like, I don't know how she's gonna receive this. Like, is she gonna dismiss me? Is she gonna like, stop talking to me? But
Oh
you
my
know,
God, that's so funny. I have these sometimes
yeah,
thoughts too. I was like, oh my God, if I say this,
yeah,
it's like, is this the end?
yeah. But I feel like we have that relationship where we can really play with that, It's like we're meeting each other in those edges, which is
Yeah,
really,
I love that.
really
I really love
unique.
that.
Yeah, it's really unique. And those are the types of friends that we all need to explore these parts of ourselves that are like, intimidating and that we wouldn't otherwise really explore, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's
We're
this like
not really exploring it until, like you said, we're doing it in a container, in
unity.
relationship,
Yeah,
in community, in
yeah.
collaboration. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean you're speaking my language for sure. Um, like I feel like there's such a synergy. It's like, it's like we can talk about these things, but there's also like meeting in a whole different space that is nonverbal.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah, and
then
it's like the transmissions, right? Like those few calls that we've had, I'm like left activated for hours or for days because it's yeah, like it's moving the architecture in my body, like it's awakening stuff inside and revealing new things that
yeah.
you are revealing, to me.
Mm, mm.
That we're revealing to each other and
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
So I mean, I can't even, yeah, like that's why gathering in circles is so powerful.
I can't wait. I
the
really,
more,
I mean, like, I am
like,
getting
the
more.
more women that we have in a room, like imagine the amount of
Yeah,
stuff.
I can't. I'm getting more and more excited day by day by like just look at growing in it. It's just yeah, I'm really looking forward to all of this and doing it together with you. Um, thank you so much
Yeah, thank you, Sasha.
answering this impromptu, completely unplanned and unforeseen situation. I'm not sure what we are calling it yet. Um, that this journey of unfolding,
Mm,
it just feels like such a big yes for me. Such
yeah,
a like, I was like, I cannot turn away from this. Like, it doesn't matter how scared I am. It's just there's something bigger happening, and sometimes it scares me. I was like, is this in my head? But like I experience it, I feel it, you know, and and it's like almost like no turning back.
yeah, like opening a Pandora box.
Exactly, exactly, exactly that. Exactly. Um, my God, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I feel I feel like just in a lot of joy. I'm feeling a lot of joy right now. And yeah, pretty activated in my body. But in a very good way. Like I'm just feeling yeah, just very grateful to be able to have this conversation with you and yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, me too. And
And
I
also affirming, like I was nervous and anxious, but now I'm like, I'm so glad that I didn't turn away.
me too. Me too.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was sitting and I was thinking to myself, like, while I was waiting for you, I had this thing. I was like, oh, I mean, I was like, kind of getting into this place. She's like, let's just get through it. And then I thought, wait a second. Like, that's not the energy I want to walk into it. Like, what if it was like, what if this was the highlight of my day and like being open to discovery? Because I love that this is not scripted
Yeah.
and it's just like this. And there's like, I got in touch with that feeling And I was like, yeah, I'm ready now. Like, there's still trepidations and butterflies, and I was like, oh, how is this gonna come out? Um, but like, I worked with myself through the conversation, and I'm like, ah, okay, you know, I feel like arrived to that inspired feeling I got in touch with prior to the conversation, you know. So I am really looking forward to more, and like I'm like, yeah, off the camera, I want to talk to you a little bit about like doing like town halls, kind of like
Yeah,
conversations that
yeah.
we can, yeah,
Yeah, that's
because
also what's been coming up as I've been preparing for the call on July 22nd. Because there's just so much. There's so much, and there's only so much you can cover in 2 hours. Like we've only spoken 2 hours, right? We haven't even
yeah,
really the surface.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I've been feeling that. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes, no, I mean, like, I think we just scratched like an infinite well of situation, like, of like conversation and experience. So yeah, I am so excited now. I'm a little less afraid now. I'm like, okay, now I've said the big things. Is like, now pin me to the wall. I'm like, that's it. It's out of my mouth, and now we go. On we go from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what a gift to yourself, to gift yourself that level of expansion. And yeah, so I really hope that that carries you forward and yeah, continues to evolve you and yeah, in all the best ways, and that you land in all the right places, with the right
Mhm.
people. And yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you for the wisdom and encouragement, and for courage to plant the seeds despite how it may be received years ago. Um,
Yeah, I think I would just want to say one thing, like when we look, what brought us here was Magdalene, right? Like this conversation she is what has been, I feel like, at the center. And we look at her as this very controversial figure and all of the things that have been said about her. But still, she's so powerful and she's still here revealing herself every day to so many women. And her ministry is still being carried forward, despite all of the things that have been said and everything that's happened. So I really connect to that level of audacity.
I love that.
It's
Yes.
like audacity, like we have to have that audacity to just like, yeah, be in that.
Be a little bit of a wrecking ball to
Yeah.
the status quo as
Yeah.
it's been formed.
Yeah.
Audacity, I love that word. Level of audacity. We should say, like, do you have enough audacity
Audacity, yeah. And
to join?
as women, they don't want women. They don't want us to have audacity because what's going to happen to a woman who has audacity? They can't control her. They can't put her
Yes.
in a box. They can't like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to keep breaking those limitations and those illusions and yeah, old structures.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
I very grateful.
Yeah. I love you.
I love you too so much.
And I hope you have a beautiful day. Hope you have so much fun celebrating your life and
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.